Good evening, people. I hope you're doing well. I'm happy today to share with you. I just thought to come here and have a conversation with you. Things are really tough. I know it's quite tough right now. And I think it is very important that every one of us has a healthy way to manage their stress or dangerous thoughts or whatever it is you're going through. It's very difficult. Life is quite hard, both in this country. I know Kenyans can relate. It's not easy right now. And in the world over, economies are struggling. So you can feel that impact very greatly. I know it's not easy, guys. It has not been easy for me either. But you have to find a way to cope. You have to find a way to survive. And each and every one of us has that thing inside them. It is something that I've come to appreciate. Whether it's someone who you think is so strong or someone who you think is weak, when it gets to it, we all have that grit. God placed something within us that helps us to adapt. It might be different for different people. Some people adapt to certain situations better than others. But at the end of the day, if we dig deep into ourselves, we'll find that there's something in us that helps us survive, live another day. Some people say that thing is hope. I don't know what you think, guys, but for me, I know that there is something inside each and every one of us. I think sometimes we underestimate the grit we might have. You know, sometimes when you're faced with really difficult situations is when you appreciate how strong you are. When everything is fine and easy, we're all okay. But when things get really tough, that's when you discover you can do it. And you will do it. I want to reassure you, you will do it. Just stay the course, you know. Try to surround yourself with people and things that are positive. If it's reading books, you know, things around you that create that energy, the right energy. Stay away from toxic people, from draining people, draining conversations. Focus on building yourself. And in that regard, I have had this discussion here or conversation with you in an earlier episode on this podcast. And as I had shared, I had been going through a very difficult period for quite a long time. Mentally, that is, I was just feeling quite overwhelmed and very drained. And sometimes I would look at my future and just see nothing, you know? And sometimes it wasn't even necessarily logical, you know? If I look at what I'm currently doing in life, if it is career, if it is friendship, anything, this fear wasn't really logical, but it was there. I was going through extreme bouts of sadness. Sometimes I would cry, and it was a lot. I had just got to a place where I knew I had to do something. It was bad. I have heard Saizaid's story a couple of times during interviews, and she says that by the time when she decided to give her life to Christ again, since she says she was always a child of God, so when she decided to dedicate her life to God again, she said she had got to this point in her life where it was either drugs, I think she says, or suicide. But the thing is, sometimes you get to a place where you feel like, I think this is my breaking point. Unfortunately, some of us have got to that place, and they're not here today to tell us what it looks like. And that is why for me it was important for me to speak out and to let people know it is okay. It is okay to feel very weak. It is okay to feel very lost, even when everyone around you can't really understand. You know, I think it is a high time as society, as a country, we get to appreciate mental wellness, you know, how we can build on it. We talk a lot about mental health, but what is mental health really? Many times we speak about mental illnesses or disorders, I'm not a medic, so, but that is important. But more importantly is how we can deal with these things. I know there are many factors that may lead to certain mental illnesses or disorders. Genetics, different things might play a fact, environmental factors, so many things. But I think there is a part we can play. I think medicine, though this might not be strictly medicine, but it should focus on prevention rather than cure. That is why I think it is important for me to share my experience and encourage other people, share your experiences too. Allow us to see you vulnerable. Allow us to know that sometimes life gets you to a point where you think, what is the point of everything? Why do we even have to be here? You have those difficult conversations with yourself. It is very important. So for me, I assessed myself and I was like, I'm at a bad place. I knew I was at a bad place and I was just wallowing in that place. And trust me, if you don't decide to do something about it, sometimes you can just get deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole. And I'm not saying that those who've not survived are necessarily weaker or didn't do what it takes. Again, my journey is just my own. Different people have different experiences, and I respect everyone. And I respect that you might be going through a difficult time and you don't know where to get the answers or nothing makes sense. So, I'm not going to blame anyone for any actions. But if we can save a life or lives by having these conversations, why not? From our education system to our places of work, everywhere around us, we need to have conversations around mental health and wellness. We need to have tangible programs or avenues where people can address the issues they have, where people can just talk, just release, debrief, and it does really make you feel better. So I reached out to a friend, Nyambura. Shout out Nyambura. Thank you very much. Nyambura is such an awesome person, She's just good energy, such a beautiful soul. So Nyambura is also in school studying counseling psychology. And so I reached out to her. We'd had conversations before, on our journeys and why we think therapy might be a way to deal with some of those problems. So she told me of her experience and how therapy had transformed her life. She had also gone through a difficult experience and she was very overwhelmed. So therapy for her gave her some good healing. So I got to that point where I was like, what do I lose anyway? I've always thought that therapy is something I may try. And I feel like I'm at that place. I'm at that corner where it's make or break it, If I don't take a step, who knows if I'll be here tomorrow? It got to that point. So she gave me 2 references, people she had worked with before, professionals she had worked with before, and that she would have recommended. So I went to the one who was conveniently on my route. I chose her actually just because she practices in the CBD, Nairobi CBD. So it was convenient for me, taking into account work and home. It was a good point. It was a good central point for me. So I think it was it 6th or 9th October? Somewhere around there. I think 6th maybe. We had a conversation on phone. And then she texted me the details of where she practices. So we had our first session on a Saturday. And subsequently thereafter, we did, if I'm not wrong, 7 sessions. I keep forgetting. Are they 7? I think we did 7 sessions by the time the year ended. So for me, going to therapy definitely had many reservations. My biggest reservation, I think, was privacy. I had 2 reservations. One is privacy. 2, what if I explore this option and it doesn't work? And I discover that I still need to see maybe a psychiatrist or something. That fear was very real for me. I was scared, So we start our first session. The first session is more of a get to know me sort of thing, get to know your client. So So she gives me a form where I fill some personal details, privacy concerns again, but she reassured me, that everything is confidential and no information will be given out unless it's part of a court matter where requested, or where your life is in danger or you're at the risk of harming someone else, which I think are very valid exceptions to that right to privacy. But either way, the details I filled there, they were not too personal, just personal enough to get to understand who is this person, what does she do, where does she live, what's her family structure, her area of practice in life, maybe career-wise, just some bits about my life that would help her connect some dots and get to understand who I am as a client. So that was the first session, just having some small chit-chat as I was filling the form. So she made me quite comfortable, which I think is important, because I think if this is someone you're trusting to tell very many things or to help you get to a better place, you need to have some good connection. So I think she made me quite comfortable, very at ease. She listens a lot. That's the thing I liked about therapy, that she listens, You can speak and speak and speak. For me, speaking helps. And I think it is quite nice when you're speaking to someone who's not someone familiar. It is good when you have friends you can count on, siblings, family, colleagues, whoever in your life you can count on. It is absolutely amazing. But there's also something about just speaking to someone who does not necessarily know you in a very personal way, but they can just assess you objectively and give you some solid recommendations. That was nice. Again, privacy concerns. I was like, so will you record all the sessions and where will you keep that information? And she told me I don't have to record the conversation, but what I noted is we would have conversations. Then at the end of the session, she would sort of summarily go through everything that we had discussed during the session. And later on, she would jot down some things. So I think just keeps her remembering stuff about me. So it's not like what I saw in the movies where the therapist has a recording, what do you call it? A recorder, whatever. And then you just speak and everything is captured. There's actually a movie I watched where the therapist was really nice, but some psycho broke into her office and took the recordings and exposed everything. And some of the clients were just, you can imagine, these are people already who are going through difficult moments, most of them. And then you imagine that, oh my God, everything that I have been sharing is somewhere out there. So I had those fears, but she told me not necessarily. And as I was also speaking to my friend Nyambura, she told me that that is a requirement mainly when you're in training, when you're studying for it, because you have to be assessed. How effective are you as a counselor and such things. So there was no recording, which for me was a breath of fresh air as well. I liked it. And then we went to the sessions. We did the Wheel of Life. I think if you've been to therapy, or if you've explored trying to find out what to expect during therapy, you must have encountered the Wheel of Life. It's just a wheel that is drawn, then it's segmented into different areas of life, career, if it is spirituality, different aspects just that make someone human. And then all these facets of life, for lack of a better term, are given a measure or are calibrated, say from 1 to 10. So you feel, if it's career-wise, I feel I'm at an 8. If it's this, I feel I'm at this. Then you connect the dots. Interestingly, my wheel was so unbalanced or imbalanced. So she says, you see, there is something wrong that we need to work on. I think that's session 1 and 2. Then the other sessions, they were really nice. Just got to sit down. I think for me, what worked even more is that I knew certain things that I needed to do. So this therapy was just sort of confirmation. Like, I know this and this is troubling me, and I feel like I need answers. But what am I doing about it? The thing about therapy is If you go there expecting that there's someone who will magically solve all your problems, it will be nothing like that, nothing like what you imagine. Because therapy, you discover at the end of it, everything lies within you. You're the one who decides when you want to be better. You're the one who decides you're going to do things that are going to change your life. That you understand, I might like this and this. I might be addicted to alcohol, to whatever gives you some form of comfort. For me, the thing that gave me or gives me comfort sometimes when I'm struggling is food. And it is something that I had to confront even in therapy. You just have to be really vulnerable if you want to get results. So I think I was very comfortable with her, with the therapist, so it made it easier for me to speak out. So actually some of the sessions were just a debrief, where she doesn't say much, but she just lets you speak and speak. And trust me, that's also very therapeutic. I know when I say this, some people think, okay, then why would I pay someone some money to just vent? I could do that with anyone, or I could just keep that to myself. I find it especially with men, even at my workplace and the male friends I have, we've had certain discussions, and I know men especially may not really appreciate the rationale sometimes, but I want to assure you, it is therapeutic, even just debriefing, just speaking about it, even when someone won't give you a solution. It already feels better, it feels lighter, guaranteed. But then now on top of that, because this is a professional, they give you some nuggets, some little guidance here and there. But largely, I can tell you that you should expect many of the solutions will just come from you. It might make you a little more introspective and actually think, this might be this. I have always been a very introspective person. I tend to think and see, how are these things connected? So it was nice to have some of those things reaffirmed. And I also connected some things which I never thought, something maybe happened there earlier and now this, and I'm like, oh, so maybe I am fearful because of this and this, It just helps you make sense of certain things. Largely it's that my greatest lesson from therapy is that the solution is you. But trust me, it is something that you want to explore. I know different people have had different experiences, but try. One of the things my therapist told me when we were starting out is that I want us to do a minimum of 5 sessions and a maximum of 10. And I was like, what's the rationale behind that? And she told me, you see, if you come to therapy for a specific reason, maybe you want to deal with grief, maybe you want to deal with a certain fear, at least 5 sessions enable us to do some considerable work together. Then surely by the 5th session also, you should be able to appreciate whether this thing is really adding value, does it make sense? And a maximum of 10 because, as in, you can't do it indefinitely, especially if you're addressing a particular issue. But what I'm also exploring for myself now is how I can regularize therapy, that I don't necessarily have to go all the time, but any time that I feel like, I need to let some things out, I can. It doesn't have to be at that point where now everything is completely overwhelming and I am just almost at my breaking point. No. I want to see how I can use therapy just to speak to someone, remind myself. The other thing that the therapist will do is to remind you what is important. If you're a religious person, there are also therapists who are professional, but they also have a spiritual angle. So if that is something that also works for you, it would be something great to explore. That it's someone who can infuse what you believe in into a session where they're attempting to help you. That's something you can do. There are many psychologists or therapists who are trained but also bring the spiritual angle, which can make the process even more effective. Again, if you're not religious and that is not the direction you want to take, there are also many recommendations, of people you can see who will not try to infuse that. They'll just focus on logic and, certain things like that. So there is something for everyone. It is not a magical solution to all your problems, but it is something worth trying. For me, from therapy, also what I appreciated is the need to action things. And that is why I said this year for me is a year of action. Because it is enough for you to know, I need to do this and this, or for you to know, I have the ability to do this and this. But it is another thing for you to rise and give yourself actionable challenges, You say, by the end of this year, for this podcast, I want to record this number of episodes. Therefore, break it down. It means that monthly, I need to do 1, or monthly, I need to do 4 episodes. You see, actioning. I felt like I was stuck in many areas of my life, and what therapy helped me appreciate is no one is coming to get me out of that place. Even God, as much as you pray to Him, I think you also have your part to play. God is there for you, absolutely. Even when you feel like you're at your lowest, even when things don't make sense, God always got your back. But you must play your part. At the end of the day, it is for you to get yourself out of that place. So for me, actioning things, that's my focus this year. Action, action, action. And it was a good experience. I haven't been back for therapy for a while, but those sessions were considerably, quite effective. They were nice. It was nice. It was a nice thing to try. I had promised I would give you feedback, and here I am giving you feedback. So if it is something you're thinking about, explore. When it comes to costs, for me, the person I was seeing was quite affordable. For the first session, I paid $3,100, and for subsequent sessions, $2,500. I know it can range higher and higher. So it depends. I know that $2,500 might be a lot for someone to say. For example, if you're going weekly a session for a month, for you to say you put $10,000 aside, it might be a lot. I know. But if you're in a position to, please do it. If you're in a position to support someone, maybe that person that's struggling is your sibling and you're financially at a better place, make that sacrifice, I'm sure you would do anything to want that person to be at a better place. So make that sacrifice. Otherwise, I'm also glad to tell you that there are places which offer some free guidance and counseling, some churches, some forums. I think I'll do more research into that to be able to give you credible and reliable places where you can get therapy either at subsidized rates or where it is offered for free. Because it is something you need to explore. So that has been my experience so far. I had some things during the last session that we discussed with my therapist that I needed to action. Some that I have done, some that I haven't, which I know I need to do, It's not like you come out of therapy and now you're this perfect person, but you're more motivated to do it. And I think that is part of the reason I want to make it a bit frequent, because to sustain that motivation, as human beings sometimes, remember when motivational speakers came to school, and then now people would do timetables. People were ready to turn over a new leaf. But what happens after a while? It dies down. So I think therapy kickstarts that process, but you need to refresh that process either by regularizing therapy, reading stuff that builds you, being in environments, do something. Otherwise, that motivation can die down. I know I have experienced it. Some of the things I left therapy, I was really energized and I was really doing them. And now I might have slacked in some of them. But just try, guys. It gives you that motivation. But above all, I just want to remind you again that you have what it takes to make it through. I know things might feel damn difficult. Sometimes you feel there is no way. Someone might be struggling with just getting a basic landing in life, Maybe you're in your 30s or your 40s and you're like, I can't even just have some basic landing, where I can meet just the basics of my life, let alone trying to advance myself further. I've never really got to financial stability. I've never really had a good job, a business that has thrived. Everything that I have explored has gone amiss. Someone might be in their late 20s, in their 30s, struggling, You're in a bad situation. You're in a bad relationship. You're in a bad marriage. You've made some bad decisions, bad choices. But trust me, guys, it doesn't matter whatever age you are, you can always come out of that situation. Sometimes even me saying such things helps me believe them, you know. I'm not at a perfect place, but I feel like I am better. I will still have certain sad moments, but it's about equipping yourself with tools to know how to deal with those situations. And also just trying your best. Sometimes you have to dig really deep. Situations are many. They are difficult. Someone is really struggling with their spirituality, wondering, God, where am I going or what am I doing? There is hope. Okay? It might be a strained relationship with your family members, a parent, a sibling, an aunt, whatever it is, guys. I know we are all going through so much. We don't talk about it as often as we should. And I'm not saying that we should talk about our problems all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, let us give ourselves some grace and give ourselves an opportunity to talk about these things. It is important for ourselves to heal. And then when we are healed, we can share that healing as well. So for me, I'm still on that journey. But I'm just here today to encourage you. If you want to explore therapy, go for it. I have said I will do some research to go and to try and get some affordable options for those who might not be in a place to afford maybe 2,500, maybe 5K, maybe 10K or higher, you know. But I want all of us to have a safe space. And therapy is not the only solution. But I'm challenging you, explore. The one thing is, if you're struggling, or even if you're not struggling, there's a possibility that you'll come through very difficult experiences. So I challenge you to have something that you can go back to. For some people, it's faith. For some people, it's therapy. For some people, it's just sports or activities that they can release, work out, you know. Find something. You need to have a healthy let out. Above all, just know God loves you. And He's there for you every single time. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for staying here. I wish you a healthier 2024, mentally, physically. Go for those goals, you know. Take care of yourself. When you take care of yourself, you'll find you're more productive. You're able to explore your potential and the things you wanted to achieve. So I hope that you're encouraged. I love you guys. God loves you. See you.